Welcome to As the Story Grows. I'm Brian Patton. Today we welcome Alastair Wilson and Diego Castellanos from Deep AL Brindle to the podcast. The new Deep AL Brindle record, Are You Nervous?, came out last Friday on Tooth & Nail Records. The guys talk about how their paths crossed as audio engineers, the decision to make music together, recording in Mexico City, navigating the music industry as a small band, and more. I love Are You Nervous? It's an incredible electronic pop record, so make sure you check it out. Thanks so much for listening to this episode of As the Story Grows. If you are already subscribed to the podcast, or this is your first episode, I would love it if you subscribed on your podcast platform of choice. 2 episodes every week, so tons of chances to discover new music. You can find links to our Discord server, mailing list, and Patreon page. Over on Patreon, I just shared a new music recap, giving an in-depth look at some new albums that came out, a lot of albums that I talked about in the mailing list on Friday. I gave a little more review style and deeper thoughts on them over on Patreon. That is for people who are at the $3 a month level. $1 a month gets you early access to every episode, so come hang out, get some extra goodies, get early access to the show. Links are in the show notes or at asthestorygrows.com. Enjoy getting to know Deep AL Brindle.
So we both live in it's like the last city of LA County. It's called Lancaster. So we're not really from LA, but it's, it's that, like, you just say you're from LA because no one's going to know where you're at. So,
Right.
But I grew up in a part we call it the Valley. So it's like Burbank area. A lot of people associated with that. And then Alastair, where'd you grow up, Al?
Pretty much like near Silver Lake, I guess.
Okay.
But my family moved us out to Lancaster after the Rodney King riots. So that was like, I think I was in like 2nd grade, and I've been here ever since.
Nice. What got each of you into music?
I think for me, just curiosity. I think I always was into electronics and audio things, taking shit apart and things like that. And that kind of led into being interested in music, but a specific genre got me interested in the production of music. So I was introduced to like a production software called Fruity Loops. And then from there it just evolved into learning instruments and playing with people, and slowly gravitated to guitar and keyboards, and that just kind of opened the can of worms of learning music and production.
Nice. Fruity Loops is not a software I've heard about in a long time, but it was like everybody's gateway for a long time. It's like if you wanted to mess around with beats or early like software synthesizers, Fruity Loops was your gateway.
Yeah, it was. At the time, someone built me. I was probably like 12, so someone built me a PC, and then they put like a cracked version of Fruity Loops. It was like Fruity Loops 3 or 4.
Nice.
And then I had that for a long time. I figured out how to use it, and it just, it evolved from there.
For me, it was mostly just like hanging out with friends. I grew up in like the skateboarding community, and we got into bands that we liked. I had a friend that left his drum set at my house for an entire summer. So yeah, that was a hard summer for my mom. just learning like Nirvana songs, cover songs. I grew up listening to like Incubus and Deftones and Linkin Park, so it was like a lot of music was just me learning how to play the songs, and our friends like entered talent shows in high school, and it's just been a part of my life since like grade school of just being a musician, being in bands. An old band, we like followed the Warped Tour in 2007, I think, and we were like selling CDs in lines. So it was just musically, just was always involved with either being in bands with friends, or I also played for like House of Worship. And still doing it, I guess.
Nice. Nice. Yeah. How'd you two get connected and meet?
Yeah, so it's an interesting story. So back in 2015, my wife was pregnant, and we're both audio engineers. I do gigs on the regular, and it was kind of like this big gig opportunity that I had for a local festival, and I got the youth stage where I was going to supply audio and everything. And my wife went into labor, so it was like, oh my gosh, I got to figure this out, because it's like one of the biggest gigs by far at the time that I've had. But then also it's like this is really important moment. Having to be there, and the stage manager connected Diego and I. He's like, I know someone. I think he would be able to, run your equipment, run the stage. And so I literally met Diego like the night before, and we chatted, and that's kind of like how we like met. Like the genesis of us just like meeting as people.
Yeah, and then it took us maybe a few years to get acquainted musically. Like at that point, it was just transactional. Like we didn't really hang. We probably met for 15 minutes, and then from there, I hired him for another gig that I was doing. I think that's where we had some time to chat and hang out, and then we started hanging out, and somehow we had some artists that we had in common that we liked, and I think music brought us together more. Like we didn't have a ton in common, but somehow I think as people we had more in common, maybe personalities, and I think the way we maybe worked together. I think audio engineers have a specific way of a specific language and a specific way of going about things. So I feel like that's what brought us together more than maybe even music.
Right. You could talk to people on a level that like other people don't understand, and like you either hear music a different way or have a different approach to it. Like things could take you out. Like me and my wife will go. I went to school for audio engineering, and so me and my wife will go somewhere, and she'll be like, "Oh, that was cool," and I'm like, "No, the sound was whack. This is not good," or something. And she'll be like, "How do you hear that?" And I'm like, "Because that's what I'm always looking out for." Yeah,
and that's how it is for us. I think pro audio is something we truly enjoy. I mean, I like a lot of things, but audio is definitely something I've spent a lot of time with, and we do it so much that's always a topic of conversation. PAs that we like, consoles that we like, tricks that people are using currently, all that stuff. So I think when this project came to be, that was definitely something that we take very serious. Like we want to sound as good as we can. We're not on a level where we have $1 million PAs where we're playing out of, but it's very important that we're monitored in a really good way. That way we feel really good, even though it might sound like shit out there. but at least we feel like we sound good.
Yeah.
So I think this project got more interesting when we started seeing like, okay, how can we do this live?
Yeah.
Because we both have a background in production, so it's like we have audio. I'm a visuals person too, so I just don't do audio. So it's like, how can we pair visuals? How can we do that on a shoestring budget and make it look cool? So I think doing things on a shoestring budget has always been something for us, and I think that always brings us closer to
Nice.
pulling resources from other colleagues and friends.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Deep AL Brindle, where'd the name come from?
That just came from not knowing if we wanted to be a band or not. I had released some music as the name Brindle, and the idea was always for this project to be kind of like a duo thing.
Yeah.
So initially, I think we named it Deep AL Brindle, which might have made more sense for people to distinguish that, okay, it's a duo thing.
Yeah.
Deep AL was just kind of Alastair's Instagram handle. He likes deep house music, so that's kind of what he went as, and we just kind of named it that, and we rolled with it for a while. We always knew it was going to be hard to look for and remember, because it's kind of a handful to say. It doesn't really mean anything.
Yeah.
So in 2020, when we signed to the label we're on, that was the first kind of topic of conversation. Like, we should probably change his name. You know, from a marketing standpoint, it's kind of hard to, to say it, to remember, to search for it. And it was worse before. It had like symbols in it, so it was really hard to type out and stuff. So yeah, we searched for like a week. We thought of different names. We thought we had landed something, and eventually we were just like, we've already released a lot of content with it. Let's just keep it. So they're like, all right, well, good luck.
Oh man. How'd you end up on Tooth and Nail?
Just kind of by coincidence. I was working a gig at the time. I used to mix at it's like a Presbyterian church, really nice, kind of upscale. I don't know if you grew up watching The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Yeah.
So it's this Presbyterian church up in Bel-Air, so it's really nice. It kind of like, it's on the hill and it oversees the whole valley. It's really a beautiful place. So I was mixing audio there at the time, and he was like the worship arts director at the time. Again, we kind of had a conversation of artists that we liked and stuff like that. And at some point he learned that I had this project, and he checked it out and he really liked it. And a couple of weeks or I don't know, months later, he approached me and he was like, "Hey man, I really like what you're doing. It's pretty cool. Tooth and Nail is on kind of this try new things phase.
Yeah.
What do you think about maybe signing to this label? Like we've shown it to a few people there and they really like it." So yeah, they shot us over a memo deal, and at first we were a bit unsure, just given the nature that that's not their genre, you know?
Yeah.
So But we did it, and we've been there for 4 years now. So that's just kind of how it started. It was just kind of like they found out that I was making this kind of music, and one thing led to another. And I at the time I had heard of them just because they're a big label, and but I'd never really known what they did. And when I told Alastair about it, he was very aware of who they were. So it was a cool time, I think.
Yeah. I grew up on a lot of those bands in that era of Tooth and Nail.
Yeah, Tooth and Nail was my like introduction to punk and hardcore and all that. And then but it's interesting. They've always had like one band on the roster that you're like, how did they end up there? Like Fine China was doing like 80s synth pop stuff and Joy Electric, and like it's cool that they're still willing to take risks and just like put something out that seems different than the norm. Yeah.
People are probably like, why are they on this roster?
For sure. Let's talk about the new record. You guys went to Mexico City to record. What led you to go down there?
I love Mexico City. I grew up going there. As an adult, I've been back a few times, and I still love it. And I think it's a really good time for Mexico, just in general, specifically Mexico City, for the arts, music, food. It's a happening place.
Yeah.
So I have friends there and people I've met that are in the industry, and I found this studio that I kind of just stumbled upon it. It was like an architecture, kind of like a Architect's Digest or something like that. But I hit up the owner and I was like, I really like this place. I'd like to start a record here, and would you let us? It's not like a studio that's open to the public. It's just kind of like his house, and and that's kind of it. So he wrote back to me and he's like, yeah, man, let's do something.
Nice.
So some back and forth, and we were there for like a week, and we started the project there. We had a few demos, and we opened them up, explored a lot of drum stuff, and met some cool people, and brought it back home, and we finished it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Just a cool space to explore and kind of help the writing process, and
and being there, being in Mexico, like it truly feels like a second home to me. As soon as I get there, nothing about it is hard. It's just a very seamless transition for me. Like I speak fluent Spanish, and it's just very easy to get around. Everything's Uber away,
Yeah.
So, and you walk everywhere. So I think that was a really cool part too. The Airbnb we stayed at was walking distance from the studio. So we kind of had, a week isn't a long time, but we came up with a quick little routine of what we did in the morning. Wake up, go get coffee and some bread, and walk to the studio, chat about some ideas, and then hit it for the day. So, Mexico City is full of green. It's just trees and plants, and it's a beautiful place. So it's a good time being there.
Nice. Album's called "Are You Nervous?" Where'd that title come from, and does that kind of encapsulate a theme or different themes on the album?
I think we thought of a few names for the album at first. I think I had thought of it being "I'm Feeling Nervous."
Okay.
And Alastair was like, I feel like it should be a little more inclusive. So he mentioned "Are You Nervous?" And I really like that. So one of the tracks is called "Nervous."
Yeah.
And I think it was bouncing off of that. So we just stuck with it. And then the idea of it mostly revolves around that album artwork.
Okay.
The album artwork is like a bunch of red dots, and in the center is like a zebra print.
Yeah.
That visually is just the idea of the red dots are like the rest of the people, and you're the zebra print at the center, and somehow you always feel different from the others, even though we're all the same. Sometimes we have a lot of common things, but sometimes we feel very confused or misunderstood or whatever. And I think that leads us to feeling nervous. So, yeah, it's kind of what it means.
Nice. Nice. Album's out July 12th. What's this year look like? You talked about the live element. Is there plans to tour? Or is it, I mean, you got a kid, marriage, touring sucks, right? Like, especially when you're older.
Yeah. No plans. We always do like a release show somewhere, either our hometown or somewhere close by, just to celebrate the album and just kind of present it. So we'll do that. But like you said, touring for bands in our level is less and less realistic these days.
Yeah.
Like, we can't afford to lose money the way you do on the road these days. So nothing planned. We'll probably play some shows here and there. There's some brief conversations about maybe jumping on some support for larger tours, but that's also extremely hard, and you got to get lucky for something like that. So
Diego
nothing right now.
Diego and I are always interested in like what that looks like playing shows and touring, and it's just always comes down to the conversation of just like if it makes sense for us. So yeah, if we get a really cool opportunity and it makes sense for us to be gone for that amount of time, then I think we would both decide to say yes to it, but we just haven't gotten an opportunity like that yet.
Yeah, it takes a lot to... We've designed our lives in a specific way that we would jeopardize some things if we left for... Even if tours are getting shorter and shorter these days, but even if you left for 2-3 weeks, that can disrupt a lot of things.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like Alastair says, it's got to make a lot of sense. Even if we just broke even, it'd be cool. Or if you lose a couple $100, but and I've seen bands losing thousands of dollars.
Yeah. Is there a plan for like every song? Once the album's out, every song can kind of have a second life if it's re-released as a single or you drop a video on YouTube. Is there plans to just like keep the album fresh that way, or are you not concerned with that and like you really want people invested in the package of the album as a whole?
No, I mean, I think we're well aware that singles is still the way to go. I don't know if people really listen to albums anymore. And if they do, it's just people who really care about what you do, our friends and stuff like that. So I think we're hopeful that one song will do something for us.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's this album. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's in 2 albums from now. So I think I've already started thinking of like, okay, this album's done. It's time to start the next batch. And searching for that song maybe. But we know that in this industry, it takes a lot of money to do things and put it in front of people the right way. Unless you go viral on something, then the only other path is you got to have a lot of money.
Right. And if you're in like a Buick commercial, someone will call you a fucking sellout or something.
Yeah. So it's kind of like, I think all we can hope for is that people that care about what we do keep spreading the word and keep telling people about what we do. Because we really appreciate every comment, every share, every little instance of like moving the needle. I think I still believe in the power of spreading the word.
Yeah.
I think that still works because I think people still decide what's cool and what isn't, and I think that's how it finds its niches. Like, you let this person know that's into this, like, oh, check these guys out, or come see this show. I think I feel very strongly that we are able to convert hearts in a live show. Maybe not as much on like, hey, check this song out on a Spotify link or whatever, because 100,000 songs come out a day, and
Right.
a lot of them are cool too. Like that's cool. But I think if we can get people to our shows, I think people get what we're doing.
Yeah. Yeah. And all that data shows, like, if you end up on a Spotify playlist, there's like a peak and then it drops back down, as opposed to having sustained growth up and just people coming along for the ride. Yeah.
Yeah. I think we want forever fans, and we've been doing this for 5-6 years now, and it's been slow, but it's been steady growth. And I don't know, in 50 years from now, maybe we'll have 50,000 monthly listeners.
When you upload the songs directly to the brain, then
when you do weird things.
Yeah.
So I'm hopeful. I mean, I keep dreaming about this project, and I think we've done a few. We've seen glimpses of cool things, but it's still miles away from what I think we can do.
Yeah.
I think, like, anytime I talk to people about it, I do think it's one of those albums that it's good from the beginning to end.
Yeah.
Especially like if you're going on a long car ride or a walk or whatever, wherever you listen to music, I do enjoy listening to it from beginning to end.
Yeah, no, I've listened to the new record. I'm a big fan. I had it on. Oh, I love it. I think it's great. Yeah.
Cool.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, had it on, like, riding the bus yesterday, just like zoned out, like chilling. It is great. Yeah.
Anyone that stuck out to you, or?
Dreaming is probably my favorite track. That was really good.
Yeah, we like Dreaming too. That was one of the ones that came out of nowhere. We borrowed like an old synth from a friend, and I had it for like a week or two, and at some point he's like, "Hey, I need it back." I think he was let somebody else borrow it or something like that. And I was like, "Oh, I haven't done anything with it." So it just kind of came a couple of hours because I had to give it back.
Yeah.
And the synth is in there, and it was kind of the base of the song. So
nice.
It's always cool when something like that happens.
Yeah.